Julie, my wife, my love, she had a situation where she believed there was an incident that, well, she had optic neuritis is what it's called. We contacted my sister, and she's got good friends at the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, Rochester, Minnesota. And we go there, and she gets a diagnosis that she does have Alzheimer's. And that was in a Christmas, right before Christmas. So it's like one of those, December's been a rough month for me for a long time. This all slowly deteriorates. And with Alzheimer's, and it's a common thread statement, you lose somebody over and over and over. Because Julie was brilliant. I mean, I've said this to you. She was not smart, she was brilliant. And to watch a person just go through the struggles, simple struggles, and watch that unfold over years. So I took care of her in my house for, I think 8 years. She ends up losing sense of direction was almost immediate, which was really crazy stuff. Getting locked in bathrooms and literally kind of, go to the bathroom, lock the door, and then can't get out. Anyway, so she loses sense of direction. She loses her sense of sight, which was crazy. So her brain can see, but it doesn't process what we can process so quickly. I took care of her through all of those things that happen in early stages of Alzheimer's, and there's ultimately what happened, and what happens to a lot of patients is they get in kind of a psychosis state, psychotic, and that ultimately happened with Julie. So she would go into these rages, screaming and just out of her mind, throwing things and just, like a whole different person. And as that unfolded, ultimately, it was just to the point of her rages and her insanity. The brain was getting just out of control with her. And I took her to the emergency room, and because that's how you have to admit her with something like this, because what you ultimately are trying to do is get to the psych ward, if you will. And that was a nightmare of a day, by the way. I take her to the emergency room, and she's very confused. Why are we here, and so forth. But as I'm there, she needs to go to the bathroom. I take her to the bathroom, and she has a freaking episode right in the bathroom. Security was called, and nurses were called. They were saying, let us in. And I was trying to keep them at bay. And finally, I opened the door to talk, and they just rush in because it's all about the dollar. They don't want to have somebody get hurt and insurance on their property. So they take her out, and actually, what happens is that actually makes her worse. Just awful. That was one of those things. Another episode, I was like, she fell down our staircase. And that just, you have no idea how awful of a feeling that, and how awful that sound is of somebody falling down a staircase. It's just a nightmare. And her ability to talk eventually goes. But she also, it's kind of common too, some people develop epilepsy. And sure enough, I'm walking her to the bathroom, and bam, she has a grand mal seizure. Her death was that's god awful to watch the person you love literally die in your arms. But it sounds odd. I'm so grateful I was there that night that Julie died. That, of course, is, by the way, December 1st. And watching somebody die, it doesn't happen fast. It happens really slowly. And they go from breathing normally to stop breathing. And then they'll breathe again, and then they'll stop. And that goes on, and you think, oh my God, and then that pause of life is like, kind of, it gets longer at times, and then it just starts breathing again. It's unbelievable. It's hard to even, I cannot describe it. And the feeling of, we all talk about energies. We all talk about spirits and shit, holy crap. But more importantly is sitting there and holding Julie. She breathes a last breath. That was certainly something that I'll carry to my death. So what's bizarre is the fallout happened. It's hard to believe. So, as I mentioned, with Alzheimer's, you lose somebody many, many times. By the time Julie was in the nursing home for 2 years. So, before she died. So, very short time in the whole picture. I lost it the year before she died. I just literally wanted to end my life. As a matter of fact, I tried ending my life. That was the year that I knew that Julie was already in a nursing home. She was, in a sense, safe, if you will. And the person I knew was no longer, wasn't even close to the person I knew. As a matter of fact, at that point, I don't need to go into this, but at that point, she was completely incapacitated. So for me, even if I ended my life that year before Julie died, which I didn't obviously, but if I would have, it was like it was all over with. In my mind, all of that, it's a long buildup of stress and a long buildup of anxiety and panic attacks and depression because that person's gone over and over and over again. So the fallout. So then Julie dies, and I've had a year of this out of hand, what's reality. My emotions were, so my logic and my emotion is completely out of balance, and that's actually what happens during suicide. Your emotion is the controller, your logic is out the window. So, and that kind of was continuing that year. I realized not only did I need to meet people, but I needed to start painting. I'm making these paintings, and they're reflecting my misery, my change in my life. And my first one was rather tame, being a portrait of a woman I knew. And yet I was putting these symbolic things around this portrait that were very important to me about what was going on. And my very next painting, I realized I needed to paint what it was like when I felt totally insane. And the fallout of this has become a series of paintings, and that's what I'm working on. But I knew it was all relevant. And as a matter of fact, I'm actually painting that story. I'm actually painting what happens to your life. What does it mean when you have somebody die that you love?